And with me now to talk about this a little bit more is Ayo Johnson. He's an award-winning journalist and specialist on Africa. Thanks for coming in. Just how significant would it be if Ouattara's men have taken this city of Duekoue?
It would be very significant because this is a Gbagbo stronghold. It has been so for many years. And of course, in addition to that, you've got the fact that it's actually a hub, a financial hub for the extraction of cocoa, which is over 250,000 tons a year. So it's very strategic and very important. It's also a pivotal junction whereby you can move to the west and head straight to Liberia. To the north, you can go to Guinea, and you can go to the south to Yamoussoukro. So it's a very pivotal area, and if they were to lose it, as it's been claimed already, it's very serious.
So Ouattara's men, as we understand it, seem to be advancing against Gbagbo's men. Yet Ouattara himself, of course, is a man who's under UN protection in a hotel. I mean, how is he able to command, if you like, what his men are doing?
Well,
or is he not?
Well, that's the $6 million question. Of course he will have interaction with his men, be it that he's isolated in this hotel, he's surrounded by UN soldiers, he's got very loose, he's not free to move as he would otherwise wish, but he does have interaction with his men, with his tribes, and he would be giving some level of comfort and ideology to them, and it remains to be seen whether they're acting unilaterally or whether they were acting purely under his guidelines. It's not been truly proven that they're getting orders directly from him, but nonetheless they're there to support his cause and support him as potentially what could otherwise be a president.
The violence appears to be getting worse. We know, of course, that many tens of thousands of civilians have been fleeing their homes in various parts of the country. There's a refugee situation opening up in Liberia. What is happening on the international front? What is the UN doing? What is the African Union doing? I mean, it appears to be fairly ineffective at the moment, or is that simply because we're not hearing a great deal out of Cote d'Ivoire?
Well, the refugee situation is very serious. It's impacting not only on Liberia, as you've mentioned, but also going as far as Ghana. These are, I mean, especially that of Liberia, they're fragile states, and the element that led to the fragility can become that much more apparent, especially if it's overwhelmed with things that would affect its own personal infrastructure, which is very weak to start with. But I think the UN, through the African Union and through ECOWAS, have got to do far more, because the displacement of people affects families. The displacement of people actually affects them when they move into these new regions, and it would appear that the African Union, especially through the United Nations, has a mandate to be able to protect civilians, and they're currently not doing that effectively, I'd say.
Is that because the African Union can't agree on what is the right way forward?
Well, on one hand, the African Union has been perceived to be weak throughout this entire saga, where they've not said what they meant and they've not meant what they said. And for that reason, the African Union has perceived to be weak, and very much so why the African Union envoy that was recently refused by Ouattara, be it that he himself was a president, but nonetheless refused as not being a credible player in this entire equation, in bartering or negotiating between him and Gbagbo. But it just shows that the African Union could get it so wrong when they could have done their homework far better.
Ayo Johnson, must leave it there. Thank you so much. A suicide bomber has targeted a truck in southeastern Afghanistan. Up to 24 people were killed in the